Hey everybody, it's Dana. Welcome back. Today we're going to be doing some coloring with some beautiful Distress Oxide inks. Now some of these colors are from early releases and some of them are from the new release, the third release. And I thought we would do a nice color blending today. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm using Bristol smooth paper for this. This paper I have found to be such a wonderful paper to blend Oxide inks on. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my yellow. This happens to be the squeezed lemonade. And I'm sorry if you hear that noise in the background. I'm actually trying to do laundry at the same time I'm making cards today. So I went ahead and I'm tapping some of that color off. And this is the bundled sage. Usually I like to tap off some of the color onto my craft mat before I actually bring it to my card if I think it's going to be a really strong color. And I have worked with this bundle sage before and I know sometimes it can be a little bit harsh, so I like to tap it off on my craft mat first. Next I'm coming in with Broken China, and that's another color that can be a little bit overpowering, so I like to go ahead and tap some of that color off first on my craft mat before I bring it to my cardstock. And you can see that's a very vibrant blue, so that's another reason why I like to tap it off. I'm going to go back in with the blending tool that I had for my sage color and kind of blend those two colors in a little bit just to have a softer line between the two colors, since the colors are a little bit different and a little bit stronger on the color palette. So I added just a little bit more green to soften that line. And now I'm going to come back in with that Broken China. And I'm just going to rub that into my paper. And I don't need this to be like a perfect blend because I'm going to add some water or some liquid to it a little bit later. And that's going to soften the colors up for me. Now I'm going to come in with the shaded lilac. This, you guys, is such a beautiful color of purple. I have been playing around with this color a lot in my craft room. And I have to say, out of all of the shades of purple that I've seen in the Distress Oxide inks, this is my favorite so far. It just screams spring to me. It's just absolutely so pretty. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down. And now I'm going to come back in and really buff that into the paper and blend those two colors together. I'm going to add just a little bit more of that purple because I really do love this color. And once I get that down, I'm going to bring in my last shade, which is going to be the Worn Lipstick. Now this one is a strong color too, so I'm going to tap some of that off before I bring it to my paper. Now the Worn Lipstick and the shaded lilac really blend so pretty together. It actually overlaps into a very pretty color. So I'm going to come back in with my shaded lilac blending tool and blend those two colors in together. And you can see it really blends really pretty. I'm just going to finish up that last little bit with that Worn Lipstick and then again just lightly blend it out. So now since I have down my colors, I think that looks good. I want to spritz this, but I'm going to spritz this with some shimmer spray because you guys know me. I need to sparkle just a little bit. I'm not going to add too much of it, just enough that I can get my colors to kind of oxidize just a little bit. And I will have just a little bit of sparkle on there. And I'm just going to let that sit for a second or two. And then I'm just going to blot up a little bit of the excess with a paper towel. And then you can see how the colors kind of blend a little bit more. They get that oxidation and you get the little white looking little spots on there. And then I'm going to really quickly just heat it with my heat gun because I want this to dry before I go on to my next step. So that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to come in with some Sitck paper. So this is a full size sheet of adhesive paper, or adhesive backing I should say, because I want the entire back of this paper to have adhesive on it. And this to me is like the easiest way to get it done without having to use my ATG gun and put on stripe after stripe after stripe of adhesive. I really need this panel to totally have adhesive all over it. So I just went ahead and grabbed these adhesive sheets, and this is going to cover the entire background for me. Now I could have used my Xyron machine because I have one of those as well, but it is tucked away in my cabinet right now because I'm moving some things around in my craft room, and I just wasn't able to grab it quick enough for this video. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this over, and then I can trim down this stick-it paper, and I can save the rest of this paper for a project a little bit later. But this way, all of this cardstock is going to have adhesive all the way on the back from edge to edge. And I really need this for my next step in this project. So now it's all covered on the back. Now, look at this beautiful die. This die is from Altenew, and it's the Mandala die, and it's absolutely beautiful. It totally fits across the top of a card panel. So I'm gonna line this up, and it's okay that it's gonna go off the sides. I'm totally okay with that. And I'm gonna go ahead and run this big piece here right through my die cut machine. Now I ran it through and I popped out all the pieces, and look at this beautiful design I have. Now since I use the stick-it paper, everything's tacky on the back. I don't have to use a glue pen and try to get, you know, little dots of glue all on those little intricate pieces. All I have to do is pull off that stick-it paper. Just use, remove the release paper off the back of it. And I'm trying to do it very carefully because I don't want to rip that beautiful die cut that I just did. So I'm being very careful just to move that backing off of my cardstock now, and then flip that over, and look at this gorgeous design. Now I do have all the leftover pieces that I can use a little bit later for a different card. I'm going to go ahead and pop that down on some Nina Solar White cardstock, and this is a front card panel. So it is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm just going to pop that down right on the front, and look how gorgeous that looks. Oh my God, I'm so tickled pink with the way this turned out. Now I do want to trim this down because I do have some pieces right along the sides that are very delicate, and I want to trim that down so they don't get hung up when I put this onto a card base. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in my Fiskars Trimmer, and I'm just going to use a bone folder first just to burnish down this this intricate die. Now because these little half circles and half shapes on here are really thin, I want to make sure that they're totally adhered to the backing of this paper before I really run this through my paper trimmer. And I'm just going to take off just a little bit off of each side of this, so I will have a nice white border when I put this onto a white card panel. You guys know that I like to use white card panels usually for my cards, and I like to have a nice clean white border usually around all of my designs. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim this down so I can have that ready for my card base. Now since I have this all trimmed down, I want to add a sentiment, and I have a Hope die also from Altenew. I'm going to go ahead and run this through my die cut machine 3 times. Now that's going to give me the opportunity to have a little bit of dimension in this word. So I don't want it to just be flat on the center of my gorgeous little background. I actually want it to stand up a little bit. So I'm using multi-medium matte in a tiny little bottle with a thin little nozzle at the top. And I'm going to use my tweezers, and the tweezers is really just going to help me to get it lined up. It's not going to be perfect. My tweezers are going to help me just line one of the letters up, just so I can get it to like kind of stick together, a little bit of tackiness first, and then I can pick it up in my hand and go ahead and start moving the letters one on top of the other. Now if I was smart, I would have ran that piece of paper as well through either my Xyron machine or the stick-it paper, and I could already have this with adhesive on the back. But it's really easy and simple to do it this way as well. So I'm just going to keep doing it, and then I'll be done in like no time flat. Now, since that's done, I'm going to go ahead and set that aside, and I'm going to go ahead and start building up my card. So I'm going to bring back in my paper trimmer, and I'm going to trim down a piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock, and this is the 110-pound Neenah Solar White cardstock. And I'm going to go ahead and score this right down the center with my bone folder. And using the track inside the cutter makes it really easy for me to get a nice crisp score line. And then all I have to do is fold my paper over and then go ahead and use my bone folder to go ahead and set my crease in. Now, since that's done, I can go ahead and finish building up my card. And now I have a nice white border all the way around that beautiful panel I created. Now, to finish this up, I'm going to make sure I have a nice good crease on my card before I go ahead and attach my panel to it. So this way I'm not really rubbing over that delicate die cut. So I normally do my cards with my big old ATG gun. This is like a staple in my room. I'm just going to add some adhesive on the back of it. And then I'm going to use my grid to help me line up my panel right on the top of this card. That looks fantastic. I absolutely love how this turned out. Now I can go ahead and grab my die. Now it's white, so I'm kind of losing it on that beautiful background. So I'm just going to grab my mini blending tools, and I'm going to start adding some color. The same color combinations that I used to color the background, I'm going to go ahead and color up that word hope. And I'm going to do it in the same way. The yellow, the green, the blue, the purple, and then the pink. And this is going to give me a nice pop of color on that sentiment. Now, since that's done, I also want to make sure that I don't lose this. Now, I could just put it right in the center and have it popped up, and it will have some dimension, but it still looks a little bit lost. So I think I'm going to add just a little bit of pop of color behind that. So I'm going to run my die again one more time through my die cut machine in black. And I'm going to give myself a little bit of a halo, and that is going to keep my word from feeling kind of lost or as if it's floating on the middle of that design. So again, I'm just going to grab my glue, and I'm just going to go ahead and put down a little bit right on the back of that colored or distressed colored hope. Just going to put some right on the end, and then I'm going to use my tweezers again just to allow me to line it up. Now it's kind of really hard for me to see on this black mat, so I'm just going to grab myself some of that release paper that I cut from the backing earlier, and that's going to let me at least see it off of that black mat. And this time I'm not trying to be perfect. I just want to line up one of the letters, and I'm just kind of like going for the P right now. And now, since it's wet adhesive, I'm going to be able to slide this around just so I get just a little bit of that black showing behind the word, just kind of like an offset. So I'm just going to keep scooting that around just till I see just a peak of that black. Now you can do this with black, you can do it with gray. You just wanted a different color than the color that's on top, just so it looks like it's a little faint little backdrop to your sentiment. I really like how it makes the first top of the word kind of pop. So I'm going to line that up, and that looks about right where I want it. I think that looks good. And now we just give it, see, just gives it a nice little halo right behind it. All right, so now since that's done, I went ahead and I grabbed some of my favorite little jewels. These are the clear iridescent mixed jewels from Lucy's shop. I love putting these on my cards because I think they're absolutely so pretty. And I'm going to grab a few of these in different sizes, and I'm going to put them in some of those open areas. And this is going to give me some added bling without a lot of added color. Now I can go ahead and take my popped up sentiment. So now this is about 4 layers thick. So this is really going to give me a good amount of dimension off of my card panel. And it's also going to give me a nice little halo behind the word hope. I'm going to grab my tweezers and help lift that up so I do not get the glue everywhere all over my hands. And you see what that black does? It really allows the word to have a little bit more definition off of that centerpiece. All right, that is going to wrap up the card for today. I hope you guys liked this video. I'm going to link above to some more videos you guys can check out. Otherwise, I will see you guys very, very soon in another video. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to subscribe. I love seeing new followers and old. And I will see you guys on all my other social media platforms as well. I will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.